Do you think the humans are somehow causing these crashes? Taman hesitated. I know it sounds 6 months after the Veltharian occupation began. Everything had changed. What started as a routine conquest had become something the Veltharian Empire had never experienced before. Effective resistance from a primitive species. Commander. Yoonji crouched in the ruins of what used to be a shopping mall in downtown Seoul. She was a former Korean military officer who had refused to surrender when her government gave up. Now she led one of dozens of human resistance cells operating across the planet. Target acquired, whispered Young Ho, one of her scouts. He was watching a Veltharian patrol through his binoculars. 6 soldiers, standard equipment moving east on the main street. Yoonji studied the alien patrol through her own binoculars. 6 months ago, the sight of Veltharian soldiers would have terrified her. Now she saw them as targets with specific weaknesses that could be exploited. Remember the plan, she told her team of 15 fighters. We don't try to kill them all. We take their equipment and disappear. The plan was simple but effective. Human resistance fighters had learned that Veltharian soldiers relied completely on their advanced equipment. Take away their weapons and communication devices, and they became much less dangerous. Sonic charges ready, reported Kyung-min, a former electronics engineer who had joined Yoonji's cell. He held a device that looked like a modified radio. It was actually a sonic weapon that engineer Jae-sung had designed specifically to disrupt Veltharian crystal technology. Net launcher ready? Said Haiwan, a former police officer. She carried what looked like a large crossbow, but it fired specially designed nets that could tangle Veltharian crystal spines and interfere with their balance. Frequency jammers active, added Dongwoo, a computer programmer who had learned to hack Veltharian communication systems. Yoonji watched the patrol get closer. On my signal, she whispered. 3, 2, 1, now. Kyungmin activated his sonic weapon. The device made no sound that humans could hear, but the effect on the Veltharians was immediate. Their crystal spines began to flicker and dim. Their weapons stopped working properly. Their communication devices shut down. The confused aliens looked around trying to understand what was happening. That's when Haewon fired her net launcher. The specially designed net wrapped around the lead Veltharian's crystal spines, and he toppled over like a falling tree. The other human fighters rushed forward with weapons they had built from captured Veltharian technology. These weapons were smaller and lighter than the originals, but they were just as effective at close range. In less than 2 minutes, all 6 Veltharian soldiers were unconscious or disabled. The humans quickly stripped them of their equipment and communication devices, then disappeared into the underground tunnels that connected the ruins of the city. Another successful operation, Yoonji reported to her hidden radio as they escaped. 6 more sets of equipment acquired. Similar attacks were happening all over Earth. Human resistance cells had learned to work together, using tactics that the Veltharians couldn't predict or counter. They didn't try to win big battles. Instead, they focused on hundreds of small attacks that gradually weakened the occupation forces. In her secret laboratory, Dr. Ji-woo was analyzing the latest batch of captured Veltharian equipment. She had made an important discovery about Veltharian biology that could change everything. Look at this, she said to Dr. So-young, who was working at a nearby computer. I've been studying tissue samples from unconscious Veltharian soldiers. So-young looked at the microscope images Ji-woo was showing her. What am I looking at? Veltharian crystal spines, Ji-woo explained. They're not just decorative or status symbols. They're actually part of their nervous system. What do you mean? The crystals help regulate their brain chemistry and motor functions. When the crystals are damaged or disrupted, it affects their thinking and coordination. That's why our sonic weapons work so well. So-young's eyes widened as she understood the implications. You're saying their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness? Exactly. The crystal spines make them stronger and smarter than most species, but they also make them vulnerable to specific types of attacks. Ji-woo pulled up more data on her computer. I've been analyzing the frequencies that disrupt their crystals most effectively. If we can build more powerful sonic weapons, we might be able to disable entire groups of Veltharians at once. Meanwhile, engineer Jae-sung was working on an even more ambitious project. In a hidden facility built inside an abandoned subway tunnel, he was assembling something that would have been impossible just months earlier. A human-built spacecraft using modified Veltharian technology. Hand me that power coupling, he said to his assistant. A young woman named Su-Jin, who had been a physics student before the invasion. Su-Jin carefully lifted the Veltharian crystal matrix that would power their ship. "Are you sure this will work?" "Fairly sure," Jae-sung replied. "I've tested all the components separately. The real question is whether we can integrate them without the ship exploding." The spacecraft was small compared to Veltharian vessels, but it represented something revolutionary. For the first time, humans had built a vehicle that could travel faster than light. More importantly, they had done it using Veltharian technology that they had captured, modified, and improved. "The navigation system is based on Veltharian principles," Jae-sung explained as he worked. "But I've added human-designed backup systems and redundancies. Their technology is powerful, but it's not very reliable when things go wrong. How is our version different? Veltharian ships are built to overwhelm enemies with superior technology. Our ship is built to survive unexpected problems and adapt to changing situations." At the Veltharian Command Center, Captain Daeho was receiving the worst news of his career. Sub-Captain Taemin stood before him with a data tablet full of disturbing reports. "In the past month, we've lost 47 soldiers to these human attacks," Taemin reported. "None of them were killed, but all of them were stripped of their equipment and communication devices." "How is that possible?" Daeho demanded. "Our soldiers are trained warriors with advanced weapons. The humans have developed new tactics, sir. They use sonic weapons to disrupt our crystal spines. They use nets and traps to interfere with our movement. And they coordinate their attacks using communication methods we can't intercept." Daeho studied the map showing attack locations. They were happening everywhere, in cities, in the countryside, near mining operations, around transportation hubs. The humans seemed to be able to strike anywhere at any time. "What about our surveillance systems?" "The humans have learned to avoid our sensors," Taemin said. "They move through underground tunnels, abandoned buildings, and natural caves. They coordinate their movements to stay hidden from our detection equipment." "How did they learn to do all this so quickly?" Taemin hesitated before answering. "We think they're studying our captured equipment, sir. Every piece of technology they steal teaches them more about how our systems work." Daeho felt a chill run through his scaled body. "Are you saying they're reverse engineering our technology?" "Yes, sir. And they're doing it much faster than any species we've encountered before." This was the news that Daeho had been dreading. Other species had tried to copy Veltharian technology during their conquests, but it usually took them decades or centuries to make any progress. Humans seem to be learning in months. "There's something else, sir," Taemin continued. "Our intelligence sources suggest that humans are building their own weapons using our technology." "That's impossible. We found evidence of modified Veltharian equipment in several attack sites. The modifications are crude, but they're effective." Daeho realized that he needed to contact Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo immediately. This situation was beyond his ability to handle with standard occupation procedures. "Get me a secure communication link to the flagship," he ordered. When Kyung-soo appeared on the screen, his golden crystals seemed dimmer than usual. "Captain Daeho, I've been reading your reports with great concern. Sir, the situation on Earth is unlike anything we've experienced before. The humans are not behaving like other conquered species." "Explain." "They're adapting to our presence instead of submitting to it. They're learning from every encounter. They're developing countermeasures to our technology and tactics." Kyung-soo was silent for a long moment. "How many humans are involved in this resistance?" "We estimate several thousand active fighters, sir. But they have support from much larger numbers of the population." "Several thousand?" Kyung-soo sounded shocked. "Out of billions of humans, only a few thousand are causing these problems?" "Yes, sir. But they're causing significant problems. Our operations are being disrupted constantly. Our soldiers are becoming demoralized, and we're losing equipment at an alarming rate." Kyung-soo's expression grew dark. "This cannot continue. I'm sending additional forces to Earth. We'll crush this resistance completely." "Sir, I don't think more soldiers will solve the problem. These humans don't fight like other species. They don't try to hold territory or win major battles. They just adapt." "Adapt to what?" "To everything, sir." Dr. Jiwoo stared at her computer screen in the Seoul Deep Space Monitoring Station. The numbers didn't make sense. 12 massive objects had appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each object was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Are you sure these readings are correct?" she asked her assistant, a young man named Dong Hyun. "I've checked them 5 times, Dong Hyun said. The objects are definitely artificial, and they're heading straight for Earth. Jiwoo had studied space for 20 years. She specialized in looking for signs of alien life. She had always hoped to find proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Now she wished she had been wrong. The alien ships were enormous. The largest human spacecraft was barely 100 meters long. These ships were over 5,000 meters long. They moved through space without any visible engines or exhaust. Their technology was far beyond anything humans could understand. Send an alert to the United Nations immediately, Jiwoo ordered, and contact General Minho at the Defense Coalition. Within hours, every major leader on Earth knew about the alien fleet. Most of them panicked. President Park of South Korea called an emergency meeting. Prime Minister Lee of the unified Korean peninsula joined the video conference along with leaders from around the world. What do we know about these aliens? President Park asked. Jiwoo appeared on the video screen from her monitoring station. They're definitely intelligent. Their ships show advanced technology. We estimate they could destroy our civilization easily if they wanted to. Are they trying to communicate with us? Asked the President of the United States. Not yet, Jiwoo said. They're just watching us. General Minho spoke from his military command center. He was a large man with gray hair and serious eyes. We need to assume they're hostile. We should prepare our defenses. Our defenses? The European Union representative laughed nervously. What defenses? Our most powerful weapons are nuclear missiles. These ships could probably shrug off nuclear attacks. So what do you suggest? General Minho asked. We surrender without even trying? Before anyone could answer, all the screens in the room changed. The alien message appeared in multiple languages. A deep, scary voice spoke the words while text appeared on every screen on Earth. Primitive species, you will submit to Veltharian authority. We are your new rulers. You will do as we command. If you resist, we will destroy you. You have 24 hours to surrender. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screens in shock and fear. 24 hours, President Park whispered. That's all? General Minho stood up. We have to surrender. We have no choice. These Veltharians could wipe us out completely. But Dr. So Young, who had been quiet during the meeting, suddenly spoke up. She was a quantum physicist who worked on experimental weapons for the Defense Coalition. Wait, she said. Maybe we do have a choice. Everyone turned to look at her. So Young was a small woman with quick, intelligent eyes. She often worked alone in her laboratory developing new technologies. What do you mean? General Minho asked. These aliens expect us to surrender immediately, So Young said. Every other species probably did exactly that. But what if we don't? They'll destroy us, the UN Secretary General said. Maybe, So Young agreed. But maybe not. Think about it. If they wanted to destroy us, why give us 24 hours? Why not just attack immediately? Jiwoo nodded slowly. She's right. The message suggests they want to conquer us, not destroy us. We must be valuable to them somehow. Valuable how? President Park asked. Our planet has resources, So Young said. Water, metals, energy sources. And we humans could be useful as workers. So we become slaves, General Minho said bitterly. Not necessarily, So Young continued. These aliens think we're primitive. They think we're weak. But what if they're wrong? We are weak compared to them, the U.S. president pointed out. Are we? So Young asked. Look at human history. We've survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and constant wars. We've gone from living in caves to reaching space in just a few thousand years. We adapt faster than any other species on our planet. But their technology is so advanced, President Park said. Their current technology, So Young corrected. But technology can be learned. Technology can be stolen. Technology can be improved, General Minho frowned. What exactly are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we don't surrender, So Young said. I'm suggesting we study these aliens, learn from them, and then fight back. The room erupted in arguments. Most leaders thought So Young's plan was suicide. A few thought it might be their only chance for real freedom. While the leaders argued, the alien ships moved closer to Earth. On the lead ship, Captain Dae-ho prepared for the landing ceremony. He expected the humans to surrender, just like every other species had done. Have the humans responded yet? He asked Subcaptain Tae-min. Several of their governments have sent surrender messages, Tae-min reported. But some are still arguing among themselves. Arguing? Dae-ho was surprised. About what? We're not sure. Their communications are very chaotic. Some want to surrender immediately. Others are asking for more time. A few seem to be preparing for war. Deho laughed. War against us? It does seem foolish, Taman agreed. Let them prepare, Deho said. It will make their defeat more obvious to any survivors. Back on Earth, the 24-hour deadline was approaching. Most world leaders had agreed to surrender, but Dr. So Young had convinced a few governments to try her plan. We need volunteers, she announced at an emergency scientific meeting. People willing to study alien technology. People willing to take risks. Dr. Jiwoo raised her hand immediately. I volunteer. This could be dangerous, So Young warned. If we're caught studying their technology, they might kill all of us. If we don't try, we'll be slaves forever, Jiwoo replied. Engineer Jae-sung, a man who designed spacecraft for the Korean Space Agency, also volunteered. I want to see how their ships work. Their ships are probably too advanced for us to understand, someone pointed out. Maybe, Jae-sung said. But I've been taking apart machines since I was 5 years old. I want to try. As the deadline approached, the Veltharian ships moved into position around Earth. They blocked out the sun in many places. Humans everywhere looked up at the sky and saw the huge alien vessels. Captain Deho prepared to land at the United Nations building in New York. He brought 200 Veltharian warriors with him. All of them were huge, heavily armed, and confident. Remember, he told his warriors, these humans are primitives. They will probably try to kneel and beg for mercy. Show them respect for surrendering, but make it clear who is in charge now. The Veltharian shuttle landed in front of the UN building. Thousands of humans had gathered to watch. Many were afraid. Some were curious. A few were angry. Captain Deho stepped out of the shuttle. He was 3 meters tall and covered in scales. His blue crystals glowed brightly on his back. Behind him came his warriors, each one carrying weapons that could level buildings. But something unexpected happened. Instead of falling to their knees, many humans stepped closer to get a better look. Instead of screaming in fear, some were taking pictures and videos. Instead of begging for mercy, several humans walked right up to Deho and started asking questions. How do your ships work? Where do you come from? Are there other alien species? Can you teach us about space travel? Deho was confused. In 3,000 years of conquest, no primitive species had ever approached Veltharian warriors like this. They were supposed to be terrified. Silence, he roared, but the humans kept asking questions. Dr. Jiwoo pushed through the crowd. She walked right up to Captain Deho and looked him in the eyes. Welcome to Earth, she said calmly. We have a lot to learn from each other. For the first time in his career, Captain Deho didn't know what to say. Captain Deho stood on the bridge of his massive warship. The ship was 5 kilometers long and could destroy entire planets. He was a Veltharian, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. His people had ruled space for 3,000 years. Veltharians looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had thick, scaly skin and sharp teeth. Most important were the crystal spines that grew from their backs. These crystals glowed with different colors depending on their rank. Deho's crystals glowed deep blue, showing he was a captain. The Veltharian Empire controlled 847 star systems. They had conquered every species they met. Some aliens tried to fight back, but it never worked. The Veltharians were too strong, too smart, and too advanced. They called themselves the Alpha species, the top predators of the universe. Captain, said Sub-Captain Taman, walking up to Deho. Taman was younger and his crystals glowed light green. We found something interesting. Deho turned to look at the main screen. It showed a small solar system with 8 planets. One planet was blue and green, covered with water and land. What makes this system special? Deho asked. There's life on the 3rd planet, Taman said. Intelligent life. They call themselves humans, Deho laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound. Another primitive species. What level are they? Taman checked his tablet. Very low, sir. They have no faster than light travel. Their weapons are basic. They fight each other constantly. We counted over 190 different governments on one planet. Fighting each other? Deho shook his head. Stupid animals. What's their technology level? They use chemical rockets to reach space. Their most powerful weapons use nuclear fusion. Some of their people still fight with metal sticks and explosive devices. Deho was amazed. Most species developed space travel before they learned to make nuclear weapons. These humans seemed backwards. They had powerful weapons but couldn't even leave their own solar system properly. They sound pathetic, Deho said. Are they worth conquering? Taemin nodded. The planet has good resources. Lots of water, metals, and other useful materials. The humans could make decent workers if we trained them properly. Or we could just take the planet and remove the humans, Deho suggested. It might be easier. Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo wants us to offer them the usual choice first, Taemin said. Standard protocol, Deho sighed. Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo was the most powerful Veltharian in their fleet. His crystals glowed bright gold and he had never lost a battle. He believed in giving primitive species one chance to surrender before destroying them. Fine, Deho said. Send a message to the home fleet. Tell them we need a subjugation force. How many ships, sir? 12 should be enough. Maybe fewer. Deho looked at the human planet again. They don't even have proper space weapons. This will be easy. 2 weeks later, 12 Veltharian ships approached Earth. Each ship was huge, bigger than human cities. The ships had weapons that could melt mountains and shields that could stop any human attack. On the lead ship, Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo studied reports about humans. He was old even for a Veltharian. His golden crystals had grown larger over his many years of conquest. He had conquered 43 different species during his career. These humans are strange, he said to his aide, a young Veltharian named Wu Jin. Look at this data. The report showed that humans spent most of their time fighting each other. They had fought thousands of wars. They created new weapons constantly. They seemed to enjoy conflict. Most species stop fighting when they develop advanced technology, Kyung-soo said. These humans get more advanced and fight even more. Perhaps they're too stupid to work together, Wu Jin suggested. Maybe, Kyung-soo said. Or maybe they just like violence. Either way, they'll learn to obey us or they'll die. The Veltharian fleet took position around Earth. Their ships blocked out the sun in some places. On Earth, humans looked up at the sky in fear and wonder. Kyung-soo ordered his communications officer to send a message to Earth. The message went to every radio, television, and computer on the planet. Primitive species, the message said in several human languages. You will submit to Veltharian authority. We are your new rulers. You will do as we command. If you resist, we will destroy you. You have 24 hours to surrender. On Earth, human leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Most of them were scared. They had seen what the alien ships could do through their telescopes. The weapons on just one ship could destroy entire countries, but some humans were not afraid. Some were angry, some were curious, and some were already thinking about how to fight back. Deho watched the human planet from his ship. He expected the humans to surrender quickly. Every other species had done the same thing. They saw the Veltharian fleet, realized they couldn't win, and gave up. Any response from the humans yet? He asked Taemin. Yes, sir. Multiple responses. Most of their governments want to surrender, but some are asking questions. Questions? Deho was surprised. What kind of questions? They want to know where we come from. They want to know about our technology. They want to know if there are other alien species. Some are asking if they can learn from us. Deho found this very strange. Most species just begged for mercy when the Veltharians arrived. These humans seemed curious. There's something else, sir, Taemin said. Some of their military forces are moving into defensive positions. They're gathering their weapons. They want to fight us? Deho laughed. With their primitive weapons? It appears so, sir. Deho shook his head. These humans were either very brave or very stupid. Probably stupid. No intelligent species would try to fight the Veltharian Empire. Let them try, he said. It will be fun to watch. But deep in space, Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo was not laughing. He had read every report about human behavior. Something about these creatures worried him. They were different from other species the Veltharians had conquered. Most aliens developed technology slowly and carefully. They built peaceful societies and only fought when necessary. Humans seemed to do everything backwards. They fought constantly but somehow still advanced their technology rapidly. Wu Jin, he called to his aide. I want detailed scans of human military capabilities. All of them? Yes, sir. But surely they can't threaten us. Kyung-soo looked at the data again. Humans had created thousands of different weapons. They had dozens of different fighting styles. They seemed to prepare for war even during peacetime. Probably not, he said. But let's be careful anyway. The 24 hours were almost over. Soon the Veltharians would land on Earth and begin their conquest. They expected it to be quick and easy like all the others. They had no idea what they were about to face. 3 months had passed since the Veltharians arrived on Earth. Captain Deho thought the conquest was going well. Most human governments had officially surrendered. Veltharian administrators controlled major cities. Mining operations had begun in several locations, but something felt wrong. Deho stood in his temporary command center in Seoul, looking at reports from around the planet. The humans were behaving strangely. They followed orders during the day, but strange things happened at night. "Sub-Captain Taemin," he called. "Show me the incident reports again." Taemin brought up the data on the main screen. "In the past week, we've had 47 equipment failures, 18 communication disruptions, 12 mining delays, and 6 scout ships have crashed during routine patrols." "Equipment failures?" Deho frowned. "Our technology doesn't fail." "That's what I thought too," Taemin said. "But the failures seem random. A power coupling burns out here. A navigation system stops working there. Nothing major, but it's happening everywhere." Deho studied the map showing incident locations. They were scattered across the planet with no obvious pattern, but they were definitely increasing in frequency. "What do the human workers say when we ask about these problems?" "They claim they don't know anything," Taemin replied. "They say they're just following our instructions and doing their jobs." Meanwhile, in a hidden basement laboratory in Busan, engineer Jae-sung carefully examined pieces of a Veltharian scout ship. The ship had crashed 2 days ago after its navigation system mysteriously failed. Jae-sung had secretly arranged for the crash. "Look at this," he said to Dr. So-young, who was working beside him. "Their power systems are incredibly advanced, but they're not as complicated as we thought." So-young looked over his shoulder at the alien technology. Jae-sung had taken apart dozens of machines in his life, but this was his greatest challenge. The Veltharian equipment used principles that human science was only beginning to understand. "How does it work?" she asked. "It's based on crystal resonance," Jae-sung explained. "These crystals store and channel energy in ways our technology can't match. But the interesting thing is, they're vulnerable to specific frequencies." "What kind of frequencies?" Jae-sung smiled. "Sound waves. The right frequency can disrupt their crystal matrices and cause system failures." So-young's eyes widened. "That's how you've been causing the equipment failures?" "Exactly. We hide small sonic devices near their equipment. The devices emit frequencies that gradually damage their crystals. It takes time, but eventually their machines stop working." In another part of the city, Dr. Jiwoo was conducting her own research. She had been studying Veltharian biology by observing the alien soldiers who patrolled the streets. She made careful notes about their behavior, their weaknesses, and their habits. "They're incredibly strong," she wrote in her hidden journal. "Much stronger than humans. Their scales provide excellent protection against most weapons, but they have several interesting vulnerabilities." She had noticed that Veltharians moved slowly in cold weather. Their crystal spines seemed to affect their balance when they were damaged. And most importantly, they relied heavily on their technology. Without their advanced equipment, they were just large, strong animals. "They've conquered other species by overwhelming them with superior technology," she continued writing. "But what if that technology could be turned against them?" Back at the Veltharian Command Center, Captain Deho was receiving a video call from Supreme Admiral Kyung-soo, who remained on the flagship in orbit. "How is the occupation proceeding?" Kyung-soo asked. His golden crystals looked bright even through the video connection. "Generally well, sir," Deho reported. "The humans are following most of our orders. Production quotas are being met. Resistance has been minimal." "Minimal resistance?" Kyung-soo raised his head. "I've been reading your incident reports. 47 equipment failures in 1 week doesn't sound minimal." Deho felt uncomfortable. "We believe the failures are due to the planet's environment, sir. Earth has different atmospheric conditions than most worlds we've conquered." "Different how?" "The atmosphere contains more moisture. There are frequent electrical storms. The magnetic field fluctuates. All of these could affect our equipment." Kyung-soo didn't look convinced. "Have you investigated the possibility of sabotage?" "We've questioned human workers extensively," Deho said. "They don't appear to have the knowledge or technology to interfere with our systems." This was true as far as Deho knew. The humans he had interrogated genuinely didn't understand Veltharian technology. What he didn't know was that a small group of humans had learned to understand it very quickly. "Keep investigating." Kyung-soo ordered. And increase security around our installations. After the call ended, Dae-ho walked to the window of his command center. Below him, humans went about their daily activities. They seemed peaceful and obedient, but something in their behavior bothered him. Other conquered species became dejected after defeat. They moved slowly, spoke quietly, and avoided looking at their Veltharian masters. These humans acted differently. They still moved with energy. They still talked and laughed with each other, and some of them looked directly at Veltharian soldiers without showing proper fear. Taemin, he called. I want detailed surveillance of human activities. Focus on areas where we've had equipment failures. Yes, sir. Should we arrest any suspicious humans? Dae-ho thought about this. Arresting humans might make the others more afraid and obedient, but it might also provoke more resistance. Not yet, he decided. Let's watch them first. That night, Engineer Jae-sung led a team of 12 humans through the sewers beneath Seoul. They were heading toward a Veltharian supply depot that stored equipment for the mining operations. Remember, he whispered to his team, we're not here to destroy anything. We're here to learn. The team included Dr. So-young, Dr. Ji-woo, and 9 other volunteers. Some were scientists, some were engineers, and some were former military personnel. All of them had decided that freedom was worth risking their lives. They reached the depot and carefully disabled the security sensors using the sonic frequency devices that Jae-sung had developed. The Veltharian guards didn't notice anything unusual. Inside the depot, they found containers full of Veltharian technology. Mining equipment, communication devices, weapons, and vehicle parts were stored in organized rows. Take samples of everything, Jae-sung whispered. But make sure nothing looks disturbed. Dr. So-young focused on the weapons. She had never seen energy weapons before, but she understood the basic principles of physics that made them work. These plasma rifles are simpler than I expected, she noted quietly. Dr. Ji-woo studied the communication equipment. Their data storage systems use quantum crystals, she observed. But the interface protocols are surprisingly basic. They spent 2 hours in the depot, carefully documenting and sampling Veltharian technology. When they left, everything looked exactly as they had found it. Over the following weeks, the small human resistance group worked around the clock to understand their samples. They made rapid progress that would have amazed their Veltharian occupiers. Jae-sung figured out how to modify Veltharian mining lasers into portable weapons. So-young learned to hack into Veltharian computer networks using techniques that bypassed their security completely. Ji-woo discovered that Veltharian body armor had weak points that human weapons could exploit. Most importantly, they learned that Veltharians thought in very predictable patterns. Their military tactics hadn't changed in centuries. They always used the same approaches to solve problems. This made them powerful against species that fought conventionally, but vulnerable to unexpected strategies. They're not used to enemies who adapt quickly, So-young explained to the group during one of their secret meetings. They expect us to fight the same way other species fought. But we don't have to. What do you mean? Asked Min-soo, one of the former military officers. Other species probably tried to match Veltharian technology directly, So-young said. They built bigger weapons, stronger armor, faster ships. They tried to beat the Veltharians at their own game. And they lost, Ji-woo added. Exactly. But we don't have to play their game. We can create our own rules, Jae-sung nodded. Human warfare has always been about adaptation. We've never had the biggest teeth or the strongest muscles. We survived by being smarter and more flexible than our enemies. The Veltharians think they're the top predators, So-young continued. But predators have weaknesses. They're used to hunting prey that runs away or fights predictably. They don't know what to do when the prey fights back in unexpected ways. Back at the Veltharian command center, Captain Dae-ho was growing more concerned. Equipment failures were increasing. His patrols were reporting strange incidents. Several Veltharian soldiers had been found unconscious with no memory of what happened to them. Sir, Sub-Captain Taemin reported, we found another damaged scout ship. This one crashed in the mountains outside the city. Equipment failure again. That's what it looks like. But sir, I'm starting to think these aren't accidents. Dae-ho turned to study his subordinate. What makes you say that? The failures are too convenient. They always happen when our ships are flying over areas where humans gather, and the damage patterns don't match normal equipment wear. Every tactic we use, every technology we deploy, every strategy we implement, they find ways to counter it within weeks or day, Doctor. So Young stood in the center of her hidden laboratory, surrounded by the most advanced technology humans had ever created. After 10 months of studying captured Veltharian equipment, her team had achieved something that should have been impossible. They had weaponized human unpredictability. "Show me the test results again," she said to her assistant. Dr. Yoon Seok, a computer scientist who had joined the resistance after his family was killed in a Veltharian mining accident, Yoon Seok activated a holographic display that showed complex mathematical equations and tactical simulations. "The quantum processing matrices are working perfectly. We've successfully copied the Veltharian computer architecture and improved it." Improved it how? Veltharian computers are designed to calculate the most efficient solutions to problems. They're incredibly powerful, but they always choose predictable strategies. Our modified version generates multiple random solutions and tests them simultaneously. So Young smiled. This was exactly what she had hoped for. So our computers can think in ways that Veltharian computers can't predict? Better than that, Yoon Seok said. Our computers can generate military strategies that specifically exploit Veltharian weaknesses. The AI systems learn from every battle and develop new tactics faster than the Veltharians can adapt. Across the city, engineer Jae Sung was putting the finishing touches on his greatest creation. The first human-built faster-than-light spacecraft sat in a hidden underground hangar. It didn't look like a Veltharian ship. It was smaller, faster, and more flexible. "Final systems check," he announced to his team of 30 engineers and technicians. "Power systems online," reported Chief Engineer Hae-jin, a woman who had designed nuclear reactors before the invasion. "Navigation systems ready," said systems analyst Tae-wook, a former satellite programmer. "Weapons systems armed," added weapons specialist Jung-ah, a former military engineer who had become an expert on modified Veltharian technology. The ship's design represented everything humans had learned about Veltharian weaknesses. Instead of one massive vessel that tried to overwhelm enemies with superior firepower, the human ship was built for speed, stealth, and adaptability. "The weapon systems can be reconfigured during battle," Jae Sung explained to Admiral Hae-jin, the former Korean Navy officer who would command the ship. "If one type of attack doesn't work, we can switch to completely different weapons in seconds." Admiral Hae-jin nodded as she studied the ship's specifications. She was a small woman with fierce eyes and a reputation for tactical brilliance. Before the invasion, she had been one of the youngest admirals in Korean naval history. "How does this compare to Veltharian ships?" she asked. "Their ships are much larger and more powerful," Jae Sung admitted, "but they're also predictable. They always use the same tactics. They can't adapt quickly when something unexpected happens. And our ship can? Our ship is designed to do things that Veltharian ships can't do. We can change direction instantly. We can split apart into multiple smaller ships if necessary. We can use stealth technology to become invisible to their sensors." Meanwhile, Commander Yoonji was leading the largest resistance operation yet attempted. Her target was a Veltharian command post that controlled mining operations across half of Asia. "Remember," she told her team of 50 fighters, "we're not here to destroy the facility. We're here to plant logic viruses in their computer networks." The logic viruses were Dr. So Young's latest weapon. They didn't damage Veltharian computer systems. Instead, they introduced chaos algorithms that made the systems behave unpredictably. "What exactly will these viruses do?" asked Kyung-min, who had become an expert at using sonic weapons against Veltharian crystal technology. "They'll make Veltharian computers start making random decisions," Yoonji explained. "Their navigation systems will give incorrect directions. Their weapon systems will target the wrong enemies. Their communication systems will send garbled messages. Won't they notice the problems and fix them? Eventually. But the viruses are designed to spread through their entire network before they're detected, and they adapt to any countermeasures the Veltharians try to use." The attack on the command post went perfectly. Yoonji's team used sonic weapons to disable the guards, then infiltrated the facility using stealth technology they had developed from captured Veltharian equipment. They planted logic viruses in dozens of computer systems and escaped without being detected. Within hours, Veltharian operations across the planet began experiencing mysterious problems. Mining equipment started digging in the wrong places. Transport ships flew to incorrect destinations. Communication networks became unreliable. Captain Daeho stared at the chaos reports flooding his command center. In one day, His forces had experienced more operational failures than in the previous 6 months combined. "Sir," Sub-Captain Taman reported, "we're receiving error reports from every installation on the planet. Equipment failures, navigation problems, communication disruptions. Everything is happening at once." "This can't be a coincidence," Deho said. "The humans have done something to our systems, but how? Our computer networks are supposed to be impenetrable to primitive technology." Deho didn't have an answer. Human technology was definitely primitive compared to Veltharian systems, but somehow these humans kept finding ways to turn Veltharian advantages into weaknesses. "Get me a secure link to Supreme Admiral Kyung-Soo," he ordered. When the connection was established, Kyung-Soo's image appeared on the screen. The Admiral's golden crystals were flickering with agitation. "Captain, I've been monitoring the situation on Earth. What's happening down there? The humans have launched some kind of cyber attack, sir. Our computer networks are experiencing widespread malfunctions. How is that possible? Human computers are centuries behind our technology." "I don't think they're using human computers, sir. I think they're using our own technology against us." Kyung-Soo was silent for a long moment. "Are you telling me that these primitives have learned to hack our systems?" "Yes, sir. And they're doing it in ways our security protocols can't detect or counter. This is unacceptable." Kyung-Soo's crystals flared bright gold. "I'm authorizing the use of planet-killer weapons. We'll destroy the human population and take the planet's resources without interference. Sir, I recommend against that course of action." "Why?" "Because the humans are no longer confined to their planet," Deho said quietly. "What do you mean?" "Our long-range sensors have detected a human spacecraft. They've achieved faster-than-light travel." Kyung-Soo's crystals dimmed in shock. "That's impossible. They didn't have space technology when we arrived." "They do now, sir, and based on the ship's design characteristics, they've improved on our technology significantly." At that moment, the Soul's Vengeance, humanity's first FTL spacecraft, dropped out of hyperspace near the Veltharian flagship. The ship was tiny compared to the massive alien vessel, but it moved with impossible speed and agility. Admiral Hyojin sat in the captain's chair, studying the enormous Veltharian ship on her view screen. "All stations report ready," she announced. "Weapons systems online," reported Jung-Ah from the tactical station. "Stealth systems engaged," added Navigation Officer Dong-Soo. "Electronic warfare suite ready," confirmed Communications Officer. Myung, the Soul's Vengeance, had been designed specifically to fight Veltharian ships. It didn't try to match their firepower. Instead, it used speed, stealth, and unpredictability to attack in ways the Veltharians couldn't counter. "Target their communication arrays first," Hyojin ordered. "Then their sensor systems." The human ship opened fire with weapons that had been impossible just a year earlier. Modified Veltharian plasma cannons fired in rapid bursts instead of sustained beams. Sonic torpedo launchers used frequency weapons to disrupt crystal-based systems. Electronic warfare pods jammed Veltharian sensors and communications. On the Veltharian flagship, alarms were sounding throughout the ship. Crew members ran to their stations as their massive vessel shuddered under the unexpected attack. "Report," Supreme Admiral Kyung-Soo demanded. "The human ship is using hit-and-run tactics," his tactical officer replied. "They attack for a few seconds, then disappear from our sensors. Our weapons can't target them effectively. How can one small ship cause so much damage?" "They're not trying to destroy us, sir. They're targeting specific systems to disable our capabilities." Kyung-Soo watched his tactical display as the tiny human ship darted around his massive vessel like an angry insect. Every few seconds it would reappear long enough to fire at a critical system, then vanish again before his weapons could respond. "This is impossible," he muttered. "No primitive species should be able to build ships like that." But even as he said it, more human ships were appearing on sensors throughout the Veltharian fleet. Dozens of small, fast vessels that attacked like a swarm of predators. The humans had learned from their study of Veltharian technology, but they hadn't simply copied it. They had improved it, adapted it, and combined it with human tactical thinking that the Veltharians couldn't predict or counter. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Veltharian Empire was losing a battle. On Earth, Dr. Jiwoo watched the space battle through telescopes in Cap 2.